Before the world knew the name Cristiano Ronaldo, before the Ballon d'Ors, before the Champions League, there was only a small island in the Atlantic Ocean, Madeira, beautiful, quiet, and a million miles away from football's biggest stages. But inside those narrow streets, one little boy had a dream that refused to stay small. Every afternoon, the same routine, a football, a wall, and another chance to get better. Life in Madeira wasn't always easy. There were no luxuries, no promises of fame, just a small family, sharing a simple meal, and quietly hoping for a better future. Cristiano didn't know it yet, but around this very table, the values that would shape his entire career were already being built. Humility, sacrifice, and the belief that hard work could take you anywhere. The moment dinner was over, Cristiano was gone, back into the streets, back where the real training began. There were no spectators, no trophies, no cameras, just a football, endless imagination, and another sunset spent chasing a dream that nobody else could see. Most children looked for games they could win. Cristiano looked for opponents who could make him better. The boys were older, stronger, faster, but he never backed away. Every challenge was another chance to prove that talent meant nothing without courage. It wasn't just the goals that caught people's attention. It was the hunger, every sprint, every tackle, every loose ball. Cristiano played as if someone was always watching. And eventually, someone was. As the sun disappeared behind the island, everything became quiet. Cristiano would often stop, look out across Madeira, and imagine a life beyond the horizon. It was only a dream. But sometimes, dreams are enough to change a life. Then, the opportunity finally arrived. Sporting Clube de Portugal wanted the 12-year-old from Madeira. It was everything he had dreamed of. But dreams often ask the hardest question: what are you willing to leave behind? Saying goodbye wasn't easy. For the first time in his life, Cristiano was leaving the island that had shaped him. He didn't know what waited for him in Lisbon. He only knew one thing: turning back was never an option. Lisbon felt different, bigger, faster, louder. Standing above the city, Cristiano realized just how far he had come. Madeira was behind him. A new chapter was beginning. The dream no longer felt impossible. It finally felt within reach. That evening, everything finally became real. Madeira was gone. Home was hundreds of miles away. For the first time in his life, Cristiano stood alone, looking out at a city that didn't know his name. Tomorrow, his new life would begin. At just 12 years old, Cristiano left everything he had ever known and arrived at Sporting CP's academy in Lisbon. He wasn't the biggest or the strongest. He was simply a boy carrying one dream: to prove he belonged. That evening, Lisbon felt different, bigger than Madeira, louder than Madeira, and for the first time, home felt very far away. There were no familiar faces, no family waiting for him, just a city full of strangers, and a dream that suddenly felt heavier than ever before. But giving up was never part of the journey. Every great journey has a moment when you stand on the edge of the unknown. One last breath, one last heartbeat, then you step forward. Cristiano wasn't walking into a stadium. He was walking toward the life he had dreamed about since he was a little boy in Madeira. He stood there, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. The noise, the pressure, the uncertainty. This wasn't just another football pitch. This was the place where dreams stopped being dreams and started becoming reality. From that moment on, he knew exactly where he wanted to be. Right there. For the first time, Cristiano looked around. Every face carried the same ambition. Every player wanted the same future. In that moment, they weren't teammates, they were competition. And from that day forward, every training session became an opportunity to separate himself from the rest. As the coach spoke, Cristiano looked around the circle. Some of these boys would never become professionals. Some would give up, some would be left behind. He made himself a promise. Whatever happened, he would never be one of them. Long before the goals, came the repetitions. Long before the applause, came the hard work. Every cone, every sprint, every exhausted breath, was an investment in a future no one else could see. Cristiano wasn't chasing perfection, he was chasing progress. Cristiano wasn't training to be the best player on the field that day. He was training to become the player no coach could ignore. Because he understood something most young footballers didn't. Opportunity doesn't arrive by accident. It's earned, one session at a time. This wasn't a match. It was an opportunity. Every player wanted to be noticed. Every player wanted the coach to remember their name. Cristiano had only one way of doing that. Play without fear. Because he believed, if you wanted people to remember you, you had to give them a reason. While others saw another training session, Cristiano saw another lesson. Every mistake stayed with him. Every missed opportunity became motivation. Because deep down, he understood something that would define his entire career. Greatness isn't built by celebrating your best days. It's built by learning from the ordinary ones. Of course, here's the clean version. Greater than most people see an empty stadium. Cristiano saw his future. Every seat, every light, every blade of grass, was a reminder of where he wanted to be. He couldn't control when his opportunity would come, but he could control how prepared he would be when it did. Greater than the tunnel never promised success. It only offered an opportunity. Everything else had to be earned. With every step forward, Cristiano left behind another version of himself. A little stronger, a little wiser, a little closer to becoming the player the world would one day know. Little by little, the impossible became possible. The boy who had arrived with nothing was becoming impossible to ignore. Every defender he beat, every chance he created, every training session was another reminder that talent might open the door, but relentless work is what keeps it open. It started with small conversations, a few words after training, a quiet reminder to keep working, to stay humble, to believe. Sometimes, all it takes is one person to see what everyone else has yet to discover. Before long, the academy was no longer enough. Coaches began testing him against older players, faster players, stronger players. It wasn't a reward, it was a question. Was this young boy ready for the next level? The answer came quickly. He wasn't intimidated, he wasn't overwhelmed. He wanted the ball, against bigger players, against stronger opponents. Cristiano played with the same fearless belief. It didn't matter who stood in front of him. He only saw the space, and the opportunity to prove he belonged. This is a beautiful moment. It feels like the call-up, not just another shirt, but a sign that everything he'd sacrificed was starting to pay off. I'd write it like this: greater than then came the moment he had dreamed about for years. A simple shirt, but it carried the weight of every sacrifice, every lonely night, every extra training session. It wasn't the finish line. It was proof that he was getting closer. Before Cristiano left the room, his coach gave him one final reminder: talent will open doors, but your character will decide how long they stay open. Cristiano listened, not because he had all the answers, but because he knew this was only the beginning. The room fell quiet. Around him sat players he had looked up to for years. Cristiano was the youngest, the least experienced, but he wasn't there by accident. He had earned his place. Now, it was time to prove he belonged among them. Training quickly became something different. Cristiano wasn't just keeping up with the senior players. He was making them react. Every session became another chance to prove he belonged. And little by little, the same players who had once watched the new kid started enjoying the challenge of trying to stop him. Before long, it wasn't just the players who noticed him. Every training session became another audition. The coaches stood back, watching every touch, every sprint, every decision, and with each passing day, it became harder to ignore the teenager wearing green and white. Standing alone inside Jose Alvalade, Cristiano looked out across the empty stadium. One day, those seats would be filled. His name would echo around the world. But on that quiet evening, it was still just a dream. and he was willing to give everything to make it real. Every match began the same way. Silence, boots tied, hearts racing. Around him sat players chasing the very same dream. But Cristiano wasn't just preparing to play. He was preparing to prove that he belonged here. Then, the tunnel doors opened. The roar of the crowd rushed in. Every lonely training session, every sacrifice, every mile away from home, had led to this moment. Cristiano Ronaldo was no longer dreaming about the first team. He was walking onto the pitch as one of them. And then, he took his first steps onto the pitch. Thousands of supporters filled the stands. The noise was deafening, the pressure was enormous, but this was exactly where he had dreamed of being. The boy from Madeira had finally arrived. He looked around, the floodlights, the roaring crowd, the badge on his chest. Everything he had imagined as a boy was finally real, but for Cristiano Ronaldo, this wasn't the finish line. It was only the beginning. The stadium was empty once again. The lights slowly faded, but Cristiano stayed a little longer. Because he knew, reaching sporting wasn't the dream. It was only the first step. The greatest chapter of his life was still waiting. Follow for part 2, the night that changed everything.